When you look at Notcoin today, it feels like one of those projects sitting right on the edge of something bigger, caught between the hype that created it and the ecosystem that might decide its future. Notcoin didn't come into the market like a typical crypto. It came in like a cultural moment. A tap-to-earn game on Telegram that went viral faster than anyone expected, backed by one of the largest messaging apps in the world. And that initial explosion matters because community size is one thing you can't manufacture later. Notcoin already has that, but the real question now is, what happens next? And for Notcoin, its next chapter is tied very closely to TON, the blockchain that's been expanding aggressively beyond Telegram itself. The TON Foundation has been clear. They're pushing the ecosystem toward real payments, real consumer apps, real adoption. If TON actually becomes the foundation for everyday crypto transactions, Notcoin could naturally ride that wave because it already lives inside the TON ecosystem and already lives inside Telegram, which is a huge advantage. We're talking hundreds of millions of users, people who could eventually transition into on-chain activity if the infrastructure keeps improving. Right now, the conversion rate is low, around 1.2%, but if that number even doubles, it will create massive on-chain movement, and Notcoin is one of the easiest and most accessible tokens for that funnel. On the technical side, Notcoin is showing a strange combination of signals. Its RSI around 50 means it's neutral, not overheated, not undervalued, just sitting in a zone of indecision, waiting for a catalyst. The MACD histogram being positive hints that momentum might be shifting upward, which often precedes a move. But Notcoin still has major resistance levels above it, especially around the Fibonacci zone of 0.00078024. That's the ceiling it needs to break for any real trend reversal. And with the 200-day moving average way above the current price, the long-term outlook is still technically bearish unless a strong push brings the price back into a healthier zone. A lot of altcoins are showing the same pattern right now because we're not in full altcoin season. Capital is still heavily rotating around Bitcoin. That alone slows down Notcoin's growth in the short term. But despite that, Notcoin has something many projects don't. Almost its entire supply, over 99%, is already in circulation. That removes a massive risk. There's no looming inflation, no sudden unlocks, no hidden token cliffs ready to dump on holders. The community holds the power. With 2.8 million on-chain holders, Notcoin isn't just a token. It's one of the biggest distributed communities in the TON ecosystem. That alone is an underrated strength. The challenge, however, is the project's direction. Notcoin is driven by the people, not strictly by a structured team roadmap. And while that gives it flexibility and culture, it also brings uncertainty. Without a clear pipeline of features or utilities, the project relies heavily on community-driven momentum and TON ecosystem development. If the TON Foundation keeps rolling out new integrations, new on-chain tools, new Telegram-connected apps, Notcoin's role could naturally expand. But if TON slows down, or if the hype around Telegram-integrated crypto apps fades, Notcoin could drift. There's also the regulatory angle. TON has had its share of complications in the US, especially when TON wallets were restricted. Recent adjustments have opened the door a bit wider, but the regulatory cloud around Telegram and crypto still lingers. If regulation tightens, TON may need to distance itself, which could affect Notcoin indirectly. On the flip side, if regulatory conditions improve, Notcoin could benefit from new liquidity and even institutional interest. Then there's market sentiment. Right now, the crypto fear and greed index is sitting in fear, and that affects everything. People become cautious, volumes shrink, and momentum slows. But markets move in cycles, and fear is usually where accumulation happens. Interestingly, Notcoin's trading volume has recently spiked. That could mean two things: people positioning early for a breakout or people distributing before a further drop. The price action around the pivot point of 0.00061483 will tell that story. If Notcoin holds above it, a rebound becomes more likely. If it breaks down, it could revisit lower support levels. So what happens to Notcoin in the nearest future? It depends on whether the next catalyst comes from inside the project or outside of it. If TON rolls out new features, new integrations, or opens more doors for Telegram users to easily move on-chain, Notcoin will almost automatically gain new life. If Bitcoin dominance falls and money begins rotating into altcoins, Notcoin will be among the tokens that benefit the fastest because of its massive user base. If community-driven innovation picks up, new utilities, new games, new Telegram experiences, Notcoin could transition from a meme-like token into a true ecosystem asset. But if the TON ecosystem doesn't scale fast enough, if community activity slows, or if broader crypto sentiment stays fearful, Notcoin might simply trade sideways or dip further while waiting for the next wave. Notcoin's future isn't about whether the token is strong or weak. It's about whether TON becomes the next major blockchain ecosystem and whether Telegram's gigantic user base begins moving on-chain in meaningful numbers. If that shift happens, Notcoin will be one of the first tokens people touch. And that alone could change everything. In the nearest future, Notcoin is sitting in a silent pressure zone, building, waiting, gathering energy. One catalyst could flip the entire chart. And when it moves, it won't move quietly.